Which is going to be better with the two 2025 Hyundai Elantras? We got the SEL Sport, which is a new trend this year, versus the N Line. This is getting over 50 horsepower more, over 60 pound-feet of torque more. It's a completely different suspension, transmission. You get more bang for your buck. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and I'm going to touch bases on some pros and cons and throw in the comparable rivals as well. Starting in the front, all of the Elantras, 5.5 inches of clearance, 5 different trims, LED headlights, daytime runnings. They're premium. When you go SEL Sport, you're going to have the matte black for the front. Going into the N Line is the only way you'll get this aggressive front fascia. The limited trim will have a dark black fascia. So I like that they distinguish the differences between the two, but a con right off the bat is this SEL Sport actually adds premium to the vehicle, because last year we had an SEL and you could add convenience. Now it's a trim all in itself, which has increased the price. Underneath the hood is going to change the ball game, because this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder producing 147 horsepower with 132 pound-feet of torque paired to an IVT transmission, which is the problem that I have with this Elantra. It's a CVT transmission, intelligent variable transmission. You have to change the fluids a lot more rapidly and do a lot more services in order to maintain the integrity of it. But when you go into the N Line, that gives us the 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque paired to a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, which can be a problem in people's eyes too, because they've had issues with the dual-clutch automatic transmission. Now, when you are thinking about either of the two, one is going to be a little bit more racy, not just because of the turbocharge, because of that clutch automatic transmission. It changes gears a lot more rapid, which if you're not used to it, it can feel like it's jerking. It's going to achieve 28 mpgs for the city, 35 mpgs for the highway. So you're losing maybe 2 or 4 mpgs, both with a front-wheel drive configuration. 15-inch wheels is standard. SEL Sport gives us the 17-inch wheels, and it's going to be a lot more settled going this route. SEL Convenience will add the moonroof. Limited will add the integrated turn signal on the side view mirror, as well as power folding side view mirrors, which will ultimately integrate into the N Line, because this is the top tier. It's over 30 grand, where that's under 25 grand, so around $5,000 difference in price. 18-inch wheels, sport tires. The side skirt flares out more so. I personally like the N Line a little bit more because of what you're getting as performance. It's also changing the suspension. So the rear is now a multi-link. Both will have a McPherson strut front suspension, but everything besides the N Line will get a Torsum rear beam. SEL Sport will not have LED taillights. You have to go into the SEL Convenience. The lower keeps the satin aluminum, but the lower bit is going to be a lot more settled, and it should be, because this is just a family compact sedan. But if you're wanting more of that performance drive, you go into the N Line, dual exhaust finishers with the diffuser, both with reverse sensors and a reverse parking camera. Going against Honda, you're going to save some money. The same thing as Toyota and Mazda, and this is going to have a more sporty drive. So it goes back to the question, which is better? For me, I would spend the extra 5 grand, try to make a deal, because there is a lot of changes, not just aesthetics, suspension, transmission, engine. That itself, to me, is definitely more value than the 4 or 5 grand that I would be saving going into the SEL Sport. But let me know your thoughts on that. Quick release going into 14.2 cubic feet of storage. Underneath the floor, doesn't receive the spare tire, but you can option it. You can split fold the rear bench in the back. It's going to be the same as the SEL Sport, and it will split fold at a 40-60 split to increase the cargo capacity to the N Line. We need to go inside, start this turbo up so you can hear that exhaust note. The key fob to the Hyundai Elantra SEL Sport is going to be the same as the N Line. Going into manual seat adjustment for the driver and passenger. Cloth seats. Driver focus setup. Let's fire it up. The reason why you go SEL Sport is you're getting the wireless charging pad, dual climate control settings, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You will not be able to get the Bose sound system. nor the moonroof. That will be on the SEL Convenience. Leather wrapped steering wheel and shifter. It's multi-function. No paddle shifts. The gauge cluster is a 4.2 informational display that can go through an array of different content for the driver. And a standard reverse camera will be on both. Click the sub menu and you can line it up for the tow. 2-panel screen layout. We do have navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio. This is a quick wedge that's kind of sort of designed for the passenger. Dual climate control settings is standard. That starts on the SEL Sport trim, and you still have physical buttons. Wireless charging pad, USB port, 12 volt, inline for the gear lever. You can fit like an espresso here or pick it up for your cup holders. The steering wheel will also be different because we get the in-badging. It's perforated on the side. We get the paddle shifts and the gauge cluster. Well, it has the same 4.2 TFT display, but when you change the driving modes, it's going to look a little bit more sporty, which is what this is about. Also, I like this layout a little bit better. Push back, it's more firm. It's a medium storage pocket. I do like that you're getting the 3 stripes that go into the air vents, so it makes it a lot more unique. We get the moonroof, LED interior lights, dashboard and door panel configured together, and you also get the 3 stripes here. 1 touch up and down for the driver, and the same size storage pocket will be on both, as well as getting the sport pedals, and the leg room will be about the same, and the leg room will be the same, as well as headroom. It's going to be a little bit more so here, whereas the inline headroom is going to be a little bit less because of the moonroof, as well as getting 8-way power seat adjustment for the driver, and these are heated seats. The seat bolstering is also different. It's going to be a lot more sporty. Going into the back seat, that's the room that you have to enter. One thing that you do have here, though, is cup holders and an armrest. USB ports, that's all going to be the same. The seat is going to be different. The pattern also will be different. Leg space is more than enough. Headroom, you do sit up a little bit more so here than you do in the front. And the door panel configuration will be the same on both trims, as well as headroom, even going into the inline. Sliding into the center, it's not a flat floor. You're not going to be sharing feet space, but leg or shoulder space isn't too bad. Same thing with knee. Headroom is going to be about the same in either of the trims. Starting off with the SEL Sport. You're going to hear that exhaust filter in out of the 2-liter 4-cylinder, but we are losing 54 horsepower and 63 pound-feet of torque, which is giving us 147 horsepower to 132 pound-feet of torque compared to the 201 horsepower 1.6-liter 4-cylinder that's in the inline. The other difference is we have larger wheels. We also have a suspension difference. Interior, you're getting all the features. So which one is better? That's what we're going to see as soon as the light turns green. Let's rock and roll. IVT transmission is also a big game changer for me. I would definitely option the N Line, but it's going to take me to the pros and cons. The pros is going to have to be that you do get a lot of standard features like LED lighting on the exterior, wireless charging pad, wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, as well as dual climate control settings. Con, driver focus setup, it's not needed. 8-inch infotainment, you got to go into the SEL Convenience, which last year, that would give you the 10.25, as well as getting you the navigation, as well as power seat adjustment. Now you have to go into the limited tier to do so. So in theory, they have went up in the price. Not a huge fan of all the plastic aesthetics that's in the lower trims, but I do think it feels a little bit more sporty if you are looking to capture that and not go into like a Volkswagen or into a Civic. Toyota, I feel, does the same thing with harder materials everywhere. The seat comfort for Toyota and Hyundai are going to be more towards the worst, whereas the more comfortable seat is going to be in the inline, I feel, or going into Honda, because they have tweaked the way they've done the seating with their refresh. Torsion and beam rear, you're not going to have a lot of action here. It's not going to be expected. And if you're competing against Mazda, well, you're going to have more interior space than that. But let's see how the inline compares to this. It's quick. Maneuverability. I feel this is why you go inline, because you have the best of both worlds. It's still compact, you're still getting great MPGs. Look at this thing, it's like a little race car. I like what I'm getting here. I mean, as total value, I think Hyundai has really did a good job. And if you are considering the SEL Sport, which is the new trim, it's under 25 grand, I would still suggest that you entertain looking at the SEL convenience. And if you're starting to get into the limited trim, I would just say go into the N Line, because you're getting so much more with that performance, with the suspension, with the wheels, with the interior itself. It's going to take me to some pros and cons, which I've already illustrated a ton of pros in the N Line. The cons is you don't get ventilated seats, you don't get a 360-degree reverse camera, no digital rear view mirror. I get it, it's a small car, but still, we're at 30 grand. Look at this thing. I mean, for me, I would go inline over the SEL Sport unless I couldn't get a good deal. And then in that perspective, I would just wait, because this thing is fun. And it's hard to get a fun vehicle unless you're going into Volkswagen. I mean, the wraparound there is excellent. You keep up with traffic good. You have a lot of performance numbers here. I mean, I get it. You're probably saying, well, it's only 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. You gotta think, this is a smaller vehicle, so when you are mashing on the gas, this actually becomes a little sports car camouflage. Now on the exterior, you also get those amenities, so it is inline spec, which makes it not so much a fly underneath the radar. Changing the driving modes to smart, now you're not hearing the exhaust. Same thing for normal. It's gonna go by the way I've been driving. The road noise does filter in. You will feel a lot more of the imperfections in the road, but the seat cushion, I feel, is a little bit better, because I kind of like a more sporty seat. So for the front occupants, it does a good job with that. But then for the headroom, you don't have so much once you get into a moon roof. So the SEL convenience is gonna have more or less the same problem as this. But is it better than the SEL Sport? Let's rock and roll. For me, it is. The drive, what I'm getting as a package, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise website and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like. And I'd like to thank Edel Hyundai of Lakewood for giving us the comparison of these two 2025 Hyundai Elantras, the SEL Sport versus the N Line, for our car comparison review.